too. We'll see what he does. And then I've got a disc center as well. It's actually pretty interesting because it's not exactly he's not exactly a chiropractor. He does something very specific called disc decompression, but he has like an entire like facility where he does this, and he seems to be doing well. So I'm talking to this guy too. I don't know. I've been thinking about different ways I can position myself in the market, at least locally, to start out. Different ways I can advertise other than what I've done, which is cold call and referral based recently. And we talked about this a while ago, the whole inbound marketing thing, and that was an idea I had. I don't know, maybe I'll just go straight to AdWords and make some stuff happen there and see how that works.
I think you need a mix. That's what I was going to ask you, is if you built any web pages on your site that talk about that specific industry, even if it's just broadly medical.
Well, I've got one that I've virtually done, pretty close. It's just a landing page. Landing page presents a case, differentiates me from my competitors and tries to convert that traffic, which I haven't put any traffic towards it yet because I haven't quite finished it. But other than that, no.
Just remember, MVP this bastard, man. Don't overthink it. Don't spend the next 3 months trying to get everything perfect. Get something. Yeah. Just get something out there. Iterate as you go. I mean, at least you get something. You get started. Because I think that's a danger that we run into sometimes, where we want to get everything just damn right, and if we do that, we'll never do anything. But,
oh yeah, the perfectionism is absolutely a problem of mine. We get hung up on shit, and it's a big time waster, and I want to do things. I want to do everything, and I want to and I want to do it all perfect, and I don't know. I think sometimes I just need to just throw an ad out there and see how that works before I go and sit down and try and develop this integrated strategy and all that. You know what I mean? Because I just don't have time, really, where I'm at right now to be doing all that.
There's quick, easy ways to build inbound marketing strategies. Do you have SEMrush, or do you ever use SEMrush?
Oh yeah, I do that. I use that a lot, actually.
So there's a tool in SEMrush that's like a content strategy tool. So your first step is to do what you've already done, build your web page that's specific to that industry, and then you can use that tool within SEMrush and just plug in some broad keywords, and it'll spit back content pieces that are already ranking for that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you don't want to verbatim copy those, but you can use those as ideas for the types of blogs, type of content that you should then create and have those within your web page. And
for an SEO standpoint, what I'd probably do from then, is write content related to that, try and rank that content, but also, internally link back to that landing page. Is that kind of where you're going with that?
Yeah. And just to be clear, usually when I say the word landing page, I'm talking about the whole stripped out navigation. There's a form, all that stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's not
your industry page. That could just be a web page. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I haven't built an actual landing page for it because I wasn't sure. Because if I use anything like that, it's in a Facebook campaign or, really a Facebook campaign or AdWords is the only times I do the stripped down stuff. If I'm trying to do an organic, I really can't do that because that's going to damage, what I'm trying to do ranking wise. You know what I mean?
I agree. So if you have that, we'll call it a pillar page. You have that industry page, and you're talking about why you serve this industry, what the need is, and within that content, you can link out to for more information on the top 10 reasons why medical professionals should hire blah blah blah, whatever.
Right.
And then you can link out to a gated page if you want to. It's kind of interesting, though. I'm sure you guys have heard of Drift, the chat company.
Drift? No, I haven't.
You haven't heard of them? They're pretty big. They're a chat tool. They're kind of expensive, but they can do some cool stuff on the back end. But one thing that's really interesting about them is they do content marketing, inbound marketing, but they don't have any forms on their site. 100% of their inbound interactions are through their chat tool.
Wow. That is
and they have all kinds of statistics. Of course, they're biased because they're trying to sell you chat, but it's really interesting because they talk about the shift in conversions from a gated form versus a chat tool, because the user is expecting instant feedback from a chat tool, so they're much more likely to fill it out.
Sure. I mean, have you done anything with that?
We've just started using Drift. We haven't gone as far as like to remove all of our forms and use Drift in its place, but it's a pretty cool tool. Like I said,
have you done any like tests with it on like specific, replacing maybe a landing page and seeing how that worked?
Not yet. I mean, we literally just started using it. So like within the month, we've had it.
Joey, this is Travis talking, by the way, guys. I don't have videos set up here in my new office yet, but Joey, you can get a free Drift account. I believe the starter account is free. You can actually use the widget on your site as a tool for free without any monetary involvement on your end. And then obviously, as you need features, then you would go up to a paid plan. So, I integrated my rollout of my new site that's going to be coming out in a week or two. I went ahead and integrated it in because I can get my feet wet for free, learn the tool, and then obviously if it ends up being a good tool, then you can, purchase whatever plan you want. So, I mean, go ahead and sign up for an account and you can try it out yourself.
Yeah, okay. So what is it, drift.com?
I think so, or IO or something like that.
Well, Jarek, let's roll around a little bit because we got a few more people in here, I think. Jarek, you're a little bit different than most of us. You've got a good, cozy, full-time gig going on, right? So, you're more on the bubble on if you want to stop having that good, cozy, full-time gig, right?
Yeah, my button for punishment is the question.
Where are you at with that? Still kind of the same?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, last time I talked to you guys, I was towards the end of a pretty large project. I'm still working on that. It's that giant university website. So I don't know. I'm not usually an ultimatum kind of guy, but this account has been by far the biggest account for web design that my company's ever seen. And I sold it. I wrote the proposal. I managed the project, and I don't know why, but I'm actually building most of the site myself. So when it's done, I'm going to ask for a bonus, and if I don't get it, that might be where.
There's your deciding factor.
Yeah.
Well, hey, so Nakia, I guess why don't you tell us a little bit about, you said you're just starting out, so where's your struggles at? I'm going to just take a stab in the dark and go, I need clients.
Clients with money.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of clients, not a lot of them ready to spend money on a website, which is understandable. So my focus is I do WordPress websites. So I'm more on the design end than the coding or developing end of that. And so my focus is on like small businesses and entrepreneurs and like nonprofits, kind of like small potato clients that are interested in having a presence on the web or taking ownership of their presence on the web and kind of helping them. So I offer not only just I'll design your website, but I'll, train you how to use WordPress so you can manage it yourself. Or if you don't want to, you can hire me to do that. So I just haven't really been so far very out there promoting myself. I've kind of been relying on friends and family that need work. So, so for 2018, and this month especially, I'm looking into possibly doing, I guess, like a hard launch, because I've just been pretty quietly learning how to be on my own after leaving a marketing agency that I was working for. So, I guess, yeah, kind of doing that without really a budget and trying to, generate some income to invest back into things so I can do, paid advertising rather than just.
Well, question one I have here is do you actually have a niche? Don't say small potato market, right? That's not a niche. Do you have a niche in mind that you want to focus on, like doctors, like Joe's going to start focusing on like dentists and chiropractors, kind of that medical field. Is that something on your radar?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess I say small potatoes isn't like, I would not probably be open to like a huge university website, just because, I really am interested in working with people who are passionate about what they do. So like artists or, I mean, I could see, people like chiropractors who would be really passionate about that, but sort of just, 5 to 15 pages website sort of.
Here's the thing is, I mean, it sounds like, you got a big heart for these, these business owners, but also considering what you just said of like your major pain point being that none of them have a budget. Right. That was the biggest reason why I moved.
Artists aren't good.
Yeah, like that was the biggest reason why I moved into what I moved into is because, I would offer a reasonable proposal for my services of what my services I believe are worth to me and to the market really, and they would tell me that's ridiculous. I was looking for something for $500. And those guys I send to Squarespace because honestly, that solves their need of they want a web presence, they want to just be on the market, they don't really need anything beyond that. Like that's what they can do that fine, But I'm ultimately like I want to make money and like I'd love to be passionate about what I do and I am, but I couldn't go after a market in which nobody.
Well, and you can still do those passion projects. You just have to say X percent of my time per year is going to be spent on those passion projects, and I know that's not going to keep the lights on. I'm literally just doing it because it's my passion. But yeah, you got to feed yourself. You got to pay the bill. So.
Right.
Well, and it goes into what we do here too, because we want to build our own stuff, right? We really don't want to build other people's projects. We don't, I would much rather build our own stuff, but we also got to pay the bills. So I guess where I was going to go with that whole thing, though, was since where you're going right now is to start putting together an actual marketing plan, a way to start going after some of this business. I think you really need to determine who your actual target customer is first before you do that. Because, it's the old saying, you can't throw your fishing line out in the ocean and expect to pull your ideal customer, right? You got to narrow that down to a smaller pond where those fish are at. And so I think if it was me, and listen, the rest of us have probably been exactly where you are, where we start this and go, now what? Who should I sell to? So that's my 2 cents. I would really try to hone in who your actual customer should be. And how you do that is you go, who do I like to work with? Who do I have a connection with? What do I have experience in? If you don't have experience in the construction industry and you don't know the lingo, that's probably not the market to go after, right?
Right.
But, interior design companies, maybe you've got something, they're kind of artistic and creative people, and some of them have a budget, if they're good. Stuff like that.
Right.
Just think about what you like, and that's who you go after. Me personally, I just like money, and so I just go where there's money.
Yeah.
So cool. So next week, if you come back, that'll be the question. What's your actual target customer, and what's your plan to get to them?
Okay.
Well, there is a flip side to that. She could focus on just growing organically without specifying a niche. The only thing is you have to be willing to knock on doors if that's what you're going to do.
Right.
So your local community, going to the restaurant down the road, going to the PPA down the road, and if that's not something you're comfortable with, then, I agree with Spence. You want to get as niche as you can.
And yeah, I mean.
Well, and listen, if you're just starting out, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone anyway. You're going to have to knock on some doors, pick up that phone and start calling people. Do the old pull up websites around your area and go, yeah, this sucks, and call them up and say, hey, I really love your website, but blah, blah, blah.
Right. You could use some work, yeah.
Travis, you still in there with us?
No, he's dead. He's gone.
He's probably just muted.
We got a Brian. We've got an Nakia too. Nakia?
Well, if anybody's...
it says your camera's not on. That's weird.
If anybody's just on audio or something, or just wants to chat, I guess you could throw kind of your stuff in there if you want, if you're not on video. I guess I'll go to me. I think anybody that's read my posts in the last couple of days knows what my goal is to just be a bigger dick. I'm trying to piss off every single partner we have, so very well could be out of business, I guess, pretty soon, but we'll see. My big issue for this last year, honestly, our pain point, first half of the year seemed to go pretty well for us here. We tightened a lot of things up at the beginning of last year, and went pretty good. And then about June, July-ish, it all melted down around us. We had a couple really big desktop apps we were doing, and SOWs got switched around by a partner, and the scope started to go insane, but we didn't have the the right SOW in place with them. I didn't catch it until stuff started to creep, and so it just became a nightmare. It ended up pushing a bunch of other projects out. We ended up losing a fairly decent sized project over it because we were so over schedule. And then we've got some of these, what I call just small WordPress projects that honestly didn't have enough budget for me to really sit down and do good R&Ds and really good SOWs and proposals. So I just kind of wing it, and just slap it together. And that's bit us in the ass every damn time. So starting now, I don't care if it's a 10-minute job. I need an SOW and a proposal and all that. So if you can't pay 3 hours or 4 hours, whatever it takes me to do the proposals and SOWs and stuff, we're just not going to do it. And we're raising rates on everybody and tightening up on the types of projects or the stage of a project we take. Some of our partners have been and they're getting worse about it too, where we go to start a project, but we don't have all the info, right? And they want an estimate. Well, okay. Well, I don't know what the design's going to look like yet, right? Nobody has any copy figured out or whatever the hell it is. Well, we'll figure it out when we get there. Let's do this and that and whatever. And so there's been a few times this year where we've done that, and then when that comes in, it's holy cow, this is freaking way more than we thought.
Right.
But we've already gotten into it, and then they have a real bad habit of trying to lock us into the initial estimate. And I go, well, but we didn't know, so now the estimate is higher. That's not a set price in stone. That's the estimate. So now if we're gonna build off of mock-ups that somebody's gonna send us, I need the mock-ups first before I give you a freaking price. If you don't have the copy and the assets in place yet, we're not ready to start your project. You come back when that stuff's there. I get it. We have to iterate a little bit through a project. There's always going to be some revision, and there's always got to be some push and pull, but it's gotten here to a point where it's unacceptable.
So for the sake of, because I was thinking about this a little bit, and what exactly is your role if you were to put it in a sentence for these partner agencies? Are you just a development partner?
It varies. It varies between them, right? So some, we're everything. where basically they're glorified consultants. They go sell a deal, and we do everything under their brand, right? We're basically their team. We do the design, we do the development, and everything in between. Some of them, we're more strictly development. They have their own design team in house. More marketing agencies and stuff are like this, and so they'll send us like PSD mockups or sketch files now, which I fucking hate. Excuse my language. And then we'll build them off of that. Um, so it just really kind of varies and depends on the company we're working with. But
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I bet you. So the consultant guys probably aren't your prop. It's the
well,
actually
they are to a point to where a lot of those types of projects are those smaller WordPress deals.
right.
And I've been lax on those, and I've known I've been too lax on those for over a year. And it's the problem. A very good example of an issue we're in right now with one of those is the guy is a great guy. I like him a lot. He sends us a lot of work, even though it's kind of smaller stuff. But he doesn't know a lot of this stuff, right? He's out there selling stuff. He's not a developer. So one of the requirements on a project we started a couple months ago was they wanted a way to sell tickets to these educational courses that they do. And so when I saw that requirement hit the board, I said, hold on, is this an e-com site? Because that makes the price go up. Oh, no, he said, we're just going to do this through a simple plugin. It's just a simple PayPal button. Oh, well, then we found out, well, but we need to see how many seats are left. They're going to say there's 100 seats, and depending on how many's been purchased, that's how many they're going to see is left. I'm like, okay, I think there's plugins out there that'll do that. I left it up to him to find us a plugin because I told him if we have to build that plugin, he's not going to like the price. So he went out and he showed us half a dozen different ones. We finally found one that seemed to fit their budget, that seemed to do what it would do. I said, okay. We slapped it in there. We styled it up. We did a little bit of customization on it just to make it play nicer because it's not built the greatest.
Yeah.
But ready to launch. Right, this is supposed to have a January 1 launch date, and all of a sudden, last week. Well, but so this is for a dental company, and they do continuing education things for other dental offices and stuff on the side. Well, they need to be able to group the attendees by different dental offices and be able to take that single transaction from within the dental office or from an individual, right? And when they go into the reporting needs to show that these attendees are from this dental office. And dude, that's just not the way this plugin works. And for us to build it that way means a lot of customization on top of a really shitty plugin.
Right. And
that brings up what he's saying. Well, what he's saying is, I want an e-commerce site. I just don't want to pay for it. And so, I had to kind of hold fast with him and kind of hold him to account because he goes into this. Well, this has always been part of the project from the beginning. I said, no, dude, it wasn't. And so luckily, we use HipChat for most of our conversations here. And so I was able to go back into HipChat and find that exact conversation where I asked him, is this an e-com? And he flat said, no, this is just a super simple PayPal button. Right. And put that back out there and say, well, this is what you said. Oh, well, I guess he says, I just assumed that that this stuff was part of it. Well, I guess so you assumed, but that's really not my fault. I'm not going to eat a whole bunch of hours to, for that. This is what you told us you wanted, right? So that had I pushed on the R&D on that harder when I first asked him, is this an e-com site? What I should have said, okay, well, what happens when they click the PayPal button?
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I should have done that I didn't do. And so anyway,
I've had a similar problem, not recently, but it was like, I don't know, a year ago maybe, and I was building it seemed simple enough. This guy wanted a timesheet portal where his employees could come in and put a week, and from there, it would be put into basically a searchable like CSV exporting admin panel. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And throughout the process, and this was when I listened correctly, and I think a result of it was, they would say, oh, well, we want to have, different hours for shop hours and different hours for prevailing wage and different hours for this. And can you do all that? Can you change that now too? And can you change this now too? And I think there's a disconnect that I think we as providers should be educating in how development works and how things are built and the processes of that, so that people understand that these changes may not be just a small change. It may look from the front end like a small change, right? It may look like I'm just adding a checkbox there, but it actually changes every way that my data is filtered and washed and entered into the database and everything, right?
Yeah, well, it all goes back. Everything goes back to setting the client expectations at the beginning and really doing the R&D and fleshing those kinds of things out, because that's when you don't do the good thorough R&D, when you don't ask that follow-up question to, okay, well, what happens when you click that button or whatever, that's where you set yourself up. You really got to flesh that out at the beginning, so that there isn't any of that. Now, if you've got an SOW in place, it shouldn't be an issue technically anyway, because you should be able to go back to that SOW, and we do this all the time, and go, listen, you signed this, it wasn't there. What you assumed, I don't care. I go off of what's here. This is our Bible. So.
Hey Spencer, quick question.
Yep.
You this is Travis again. Sorry. You had mentioned you had mentioned that the client with your hold on, get my thoughts together. Oh, you were talking about your client with the PayPal issue doesn't really understand processes very well and isn't that knowledgeable. One thing that I've found, I have a lot of clients that I work in that same capacity. They bring me a lot of work, and hey, if their money's good, their money's good. But sometimes I've found that I have to take that project manager hat off, and I have to put on my teaching hat for a little bit, and I have to actually hold those folks' hands and teach them my processes so that we don't go through that issue again. So when I find someone stumbling on something, I usually stop at that point and say, hey, let's schedule a quick call. Let me give you the breakdown of why this works this way. Here's some key terminology. And I try to actually teach them a little bit. And I've found that folks don't get offended as easily. They feel like you're giving them tools to help them in the future, ultimately get them more business, and they're usually open to those types of situations. So I think that the biggest combatant against, for lack of a better term, uneducated clients, especially those ones that you work with in an ongoing capacity, I think that the best thing for that is good old education and not talking down to them, but trying to bring them up to where you are.
Yeah, totally. In this particular case, this particular person that I'm dealing with on this one is usually really good about that stuff, right? He knows that he doesn't know all of the ins and outs of this stuff. I think what really happened on this particular case is we're dealing with, I think, 5 or 6 projects, 5 or 6 different builds with him right now at the same time, and he's a single player, right? He's just out there himself beating on stuff and sending us that stuff to do. He's technically the end client project manager sort of role, right? But I think he himself kind of let himself not do some of that R&D work as well, and he found himself in a bind. And I think he knows, honestly, that,
Well, good for you for sticking to your guns, because you know good as well that that's a fork in the road there, brother. If you lay down, then they're going to do it over and over and over.
that's just it. You do it once, and they'll do it again. And we've been guilty of that too in the past, where we just we'll eat it, right? I'm not doing that anymore. I don't care how stupid it is. I'm just not doing it. Hey, Dan brought up in chat here that he's going to start to maybe focus on restaurants and bars over around Chicago. My initial thought on that, Dan, is be really careful. Now, you're in Chicago, so there should be some bigger ones, right? Bars and restaurants, in my opinion, in my experience, have low budgets, and for some reason they seem to be difficult to work with.
They've been difficult from my experience.
Yeah, I would pick and choose on those
Only
things.
worst is artists. Yeah.
Musicians.
Yeah, I'm a musician, so I will call the kettle black. I am the pot. So.
Yeah, I mean there's a big market. It really is. It's just man, you gotta watch it because these guys aren't making a lot of times a ton of money on these things. And
The
so
fact is you need to be finding a niche. That doesn't necessarily mean that restaurants and bars may be the right niche. I have tried to focus on niches in the past that I know were good niches for me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the client is the type of client you want, or that the budgets are there, or that the expectations are realistic. So sometimes you just have to go, hey, people in this industry are crazy, and move on to another one.
From my experience, the people who are best paying web clients aren't necessarily the people who are in high revenue industries. It's more about what's the ROI of a website for that person, for that business.
Right.
Sure.
Like for a restaurant, unless you're doing something like online ordering, or you're not really going to move the revenue needle for them. So even if they have a big budget, the ROI is not there. So they're less likely. Whereas you could go to a small company who does nothing but e-commerce, a website's extremely valuable to them. So they may not make a ton of money, but they'd be willing to spend because they know it's going to return on their investment.
Right.
Right.
I've tried more. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yeah, I've been saying I'm trying more to think. We've built websites for 15 years, but never have we been involved in actually making those websites do anything after that in terms of value, ROI, any of that. We simply build a build house and we'll maintain it. We'll do whatever you want us to. But from that point forward, kind of marketing and advertising and actually making that vehicle go down the road has been someone else's problem or job. And in 2018, one of my major focuses is to learn more about that aspect of things, to either partner with the right folks that can provide those services, and start working those into my offering. Because we build websites well, we build apps well. That's not that hard, or it's becoming increasingly less valuable in my eyes. Not that it's not needed, but to stay relevant, I think everyone needs to shift their focus into, okay, you build this great tool, how do you now promote it? So that's definitely one of my focuses. And then not to, you're not going to see me changing all my branding to, we're going to be a digital agency tomorrow. That's not, digital marketing agency. That's not the goal. It's just to be more well-rounded and to realize when those types of, what tools are good tools, who can provide those services, and to try to start providing more value. What you mentioned, Jared, that's what made me think of that. It's all about ROI at the end of the day.
Yeah, see, the company I work for is more of a digital marketing agency that happens to do web design. So what that looks like for us is, all of our web designs are based on strategy and the goal of converting visitors to leads and leads to customers.
Sure.
But because of that, we're very careful. Like we target specific niches, but we'll only take on so many clients in a certain geography, for instance, because we don't want our clients to compete against each other.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that's what's different between a digital marketing agency and a quote unquote web design firm is, web design, if all you're doing is building the web presence, you can kind of be agnostic and not have to discriminate too much. Whereas with digital marketing, if you're an ethical business person anyway, you should try not to be have your customers competing against each other.
Well, there's a yes and no to that, because ultimately, like, what you're doing with a website is you're representing a brand online. Like you are and what I've found is that customers will ask me, even if it's just a website build, that they ask me to remain exclusive to their industry for them. Because, if you do a good job and you represent their business well and you help them do that, even if, you didn't necessarily do any creative strategy or, marketing automation or anything along those lines, it's still valuable to them in that sense. It's going to help them close business, and they don't want their competitors having that.
Yeah, see, most of our clients, they have their branding in place. I'm thinking of one right now. One of my clients is a smaller telecommunications company, so cable, internet, all that stuff, telephone, and they are a member of kind of like a conglomerate of other telecoms that are smaller, not the sizes of an AT&T or something. And the head of that conglomerate reached out to me because we're working with one of their clients and said, we love what you did for them. Can you white label so that we can sell this to all of the other telecoms that are part of this group? And we told them no, because it dilutes the work we did for that telecom. Because if we were suddenly templatizing everything, and they basically paid for everybody, all their competition, to get a better deal. So, I mean, I agree with you. Sometimes you don't want to go down the road of guaranteeing that you're not going to build the same kind of site or a similar site for somebody in that same industry. But at the same time, you just got to think about that stuff and take each one, case by case.
Yeah, that's interesting. Good for you guys for having ethics. That would have been a hard call to make. I think.
That, man, our company, it's crazy. We turned down a ton of business, and it goes back to exactly what you guys are talking about. Just over the years, the leadership here has honed in so much on who they want to work with that literally, if you don't check all those boxes, they've found that they're better off, because they'll lose money, or the employees will be unhappy, or there's so many things about it.
Well, honestly, you got to. I mean, that's the point I'm at right now, right? And especially Nakia, for you starting out, it is ultimately always the mindset that, hey, I got to eat. I need some business, and you eat a lot of crap. And honestly, like I said earlier, I mean, if we got to lock the damn door and go do something else, then we'll just do that, because I'm not going to run a company in a business that I freaking hate. And if we repeat the last half of last year, that's what I'll do. And I'll go work at freaking McDonald's before I do that.
I mean, it comes down to your credibility at the end of the day, So if you're just starting out like you are, Nakia, you like Spence said, you're gonna have to eat some shit every once in a while. You're gonna have to do some things that you don't want to do. There will be times that you will lose money because you don't have a brand, you don't have the credibility yet.
Well, but on the flip side though, don't let people bully and push you around just because you need their $10, right? So you eat ramen today. You eat ramen. It sure beats being an indentured servant for some asshole for the next 6 months, because that's what they do. They'll give you $10, like the commercial with the dude with the dollar. Got you a dollar, right? And he keeps pulling it back and back and back and back, and it's always, well, but I need this to be done before I pay you the last half or something, right? And you just always chasing that dollar.
Some of the really, really foolish moves I made when I was just first starting out freelancing just blow me away when I think about them. Just some of the stuff I did. I mean, I had a guy who I literally chased like this check he said he was going to give me for like, I don't even know, like 5-6 months. And it was, finally I was like, all right, I'm going to walk away. And he's like, well, I'll give you $500 if you want to keep working. And I was like, you know what? Screw you.
So listen.
Leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
So when I first started this company, so I had a full-time dev gig. I was the lead developer for a startup, and I wasn't real happy with where the management was going. And I know a guy that had started a marketing agency in the cities and was doing really well. And he said, listen, I've got a dozen builds that need to happen yesterday. And he had no development team. All he had was a handful of designers. And I said, well, I'm thinking of walking away. Let me go start this company. In the first of the year, we'll crack them out. And so that's what we did. That's why I started the company. I had at least a dozen builds and potentially an ongoing stream of work right out of the gate. Problem was, after I started the company and I called him and I said, okay, dude, I'm ready. He said, sorry, I went ahead and hired a few developers in-house over the holidays. Like, oh, you fuck. So now I'm like, what the hell do I do, right? So honestly, I go out and I get another full-time gig for a while, just and then try to keep this thing alive and get something going with it in the meantime. I did have a retainer contract with that startup I worked for as well, so we had a little bit of revenue on that side. I brought a friend of mine in early on that first year, and I ended up getting a deal with a media company. They do like these little books with rental properties that they put out on the stands all over the city and stuff, and a couple other little publications. We went to this meeting. I brought the guy that I brought in with me, and the dude starts just beating the hell out of me on price right off the bat. Right away, I got that feeling in my gut that, this isn't going to be a good client, but we needed work. So he beat me all the way to 40 an hour. And I said, all right, I'll do that as long as you understand that this other guy, Dan, which is my partner now, is going to be your lead developer on this. I don't have a lot of hours in the day because I've got other stuff I got to be doing. He may not have the experience that I have. It may take him an extra day or something like that. He's good. It's just maybe it takes him a minute longer, but we'll do that for your $40. Dude, this guy was a nightmare. I don't think he slept ever because he was like freaking calling me at 4 in the morning and crap and just demanding this and that and the other, acting like he was paying us $1 million an hour. And we got into July. And we bent over backwards for this guy. We built him some crazy stuff for what he was paying us, and in record times too. And this dude throws a fit. I'm on my way to work in the morning, 7 in the morning in rush hour, right? Sitting there, this dude starts calling me. We told him we were going to have this thing done on Friday, right? This is Friday. I didn't mean at 7 in the morning Friday, right? I kind of meant end of day Friday. And so he just starts freaking out on me. I said, all right, listen, I'll get a hold of Dan. We'll figure it out. So I called Dan. I said, this dude's freaking out. Get a hold of him, figure it out. So Dan calls him. He ends up telling him it'll be done when it's done. Holy shit, this guy hit the freaking moon. He calls me back just mad as hell. I'm not working with that guy anymore. And I said, well, then I don't know what we're going to do because that was the deal. And so we were going into the 4th of July weekend, and he starts sending me emails wanting me to have this, that, and the other done by Sunday, 4th of July Sunday, mind you. To which I replied that I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to go ahead and cancel your contract. It just wasn't worth it. And so this guy calls me back Monday, right? He's like, well, what's this? Where'd this come from? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why you want to cancel the contract. And I'm like, because you refuse to work with the guy that's supposed to do the work for you. I don't have time to do it all day, every day for you. And he's like, well, what if what's it going to take for you to do this, for you to do my development for me? And it's like, dude, even if you give me $100 an hour, because he was even talking about not paying invoices, and I had to bring a contract out and send that to him and say, no, you're paying invoices. But even if he said I'd pay you $200 an hour, what's the chance he's actually going to pay me? So yeah, we just tossed him and walked away. And it hurt too because it was a very big part of our revenue at the moment.
So do all you guys have lawyers?
Me? No. Yeah, sorta.
That's needed?
No.
Yeah.
I don't at all. I should.
Well, we just.
I'm not even. Dude. I was reading Dan's thing. I'm not even incorporated. I probably should be, but I'm not.
Yeah, you need to set up an LLC for sure.
I was thinking about just doing a C corp. That made the most sense to me. I feel like.
Well, and if you're going to do medical field stuff too, dude, I would recommend, like,
That's
we
very
just got
true.
set up with this errors and omissions insurance and some professional liability, just in case, man, because there's, I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on fucking lawsuits and fines and stuff, especially with this HIPAA thing we're doing. It scares the hell out of me. So,
A good
it's
point.
not that expensive, and I mean, fuck. You gotta protect yourself. If you don't have an LLC, you're doing everything under your name. Some guy wants to be a dick and sue you and claim that you ruined his business or something. Um, even if you
Yeah.
win and you spend $100,000 fighting the dude and win, you're still out $100,000, and you're probably out of business. If you're just running on your own.
Oh yeah.
But what
That's
happens is they can come back and say, okay, you owe us all this money now. They can come back, take your house, your property, because it's you, not a business. That's what that LLC does. Is that LLC separates you personally from that company.
Sure.
And it's setting up an LLC is like a 10-minute job and like 30.
Yeah, it really is
You
taking
know?
me long. I might just do it this afternoon.
It's way too easy not to, Joe. You might as well.
Yeah.
It's like $100 maybe, if that.
Yeah, it's like $100 a year, I think.
Yeah. Hey Spencer, I since you're talking about the HIPAA thing, I had a thought the other day. So one of my clients is a revenue cycle management company, and these companies are huge. And basically, what happens is hospitals and healthcare providers outsource all of their bad debt recovery, all of their billing, online payment portals. That's all completely outsourced. These hospitals don't do it in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And so these revenue cycle management companies, the way that they're trying to differentiate each other from one another is via technology. You could take that form that you've created, that WordPress plugin, and white label it for even just one of these rev cycle management companies.
Well, so the way I built this, and I'm digging the idea. The way I built this is it's a standalone API platform first. It's a SaaS platform. So forget WordPress, forget anything else. First and foremost, it's a SaaS platform. The WordPress plugin is really just an interface to it. And I built it that way because the next piece of this, I want to go build a Joomla component for the people that still use that fucking thing. But then phase 3 of this is I want to build a standalone kind of version of this as well, where people that don't use a CMS or something can use it. But then we also have some potential deals going on. I have a call Monday with a company that is a big managed services IT provider for dental companies. They have thousands of customers in the US. They have no solution for this right now. And so exactly what you're talking about, I built this out knowing that we were going to have this meeting to be able to build a standalone solution branded under them using our API system, right? So the way we've set this up to do what you're talking about, we're already kind of geared that way anyway.
Cool.
So
Yeah, that's cool shit. That's
dude,
awesome.
if you think there's an opportunity, work it.
You were originally talking about, I think like smaller doctors' offices would come straight to you for that stuff, but the big hospitals like Cleveland Clinic and places like that, they outsource 100% of this stuff to those rev cycle management companies.
We're never getting a university hospital or a large Rochester, cancer clinic or anything like that on a WordPress plugin. We're never getting that on a WordPress plugin. That is going to be either we're doing a direct sales process on that for an inbuilt solution, standalone solution for them, or they're going through what you just said, some kind of an MSP provider, an IT provider that manages specific large hospitals like that. But
what I'm saying though is if you can sell one of these rev cycle management companies, these companies are huge. The one I work for, or that's a client of mine, they're nationwide. They've got 20 locations across the country. They have a huge, so they'll do the sales for you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sure.
The differentiator. One of the things they're doing right now is they've built like an AI bot that listens to patient billing conversations, and it can actually pick up curse words, pick up tone of voice, and it scores the it scores the call center person, but it also scores the patient to give the hospital feedback as to how many of their patients are pissed off, and what can they do to like mitigate that.
That's cool. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
That's really.
So what I'm saying is these rev cycle management companies have a shit ton of money, and they're using technology to differentiate themselves. So what you're doing, rather than trying to sell it to this provider, that provider, if you can get one of those rev cycle management companies to bring it in as one of their suite of services, they'll sell it for you all day long.
I tell you what, let's kill two birds with one stone, Jarek. You go out and get us started on one of them deals, and we just found your entrepreneur niche, right? There's your company. There you go.
I don't know. That might be a little unethical going to my client.
It doesn't have to be that particular client. There's more, right? Yeah. There's others.
Yeah.
No, I like that idea, honestly, and that's where my ultimate goal on this idea basically ends up, is into that kind of a thing where, we're like just take this thing I'm meeting with on Monday, right? Thousands and thousands of small dental clinics use this company to manage their IT and stuff. Why sell an individual WordPress plugin? And I'm all about it. I mean, the WordPress repo, we got into that thing, downloads every day. I mean, we've got around 50 now, and we launched like a week ago. But with those guys, we get the deal done with them. There's maybe instantly 1,000, 2,000 dental clinics using it. The same with yours. Yours is a bigger ticket because we get into that. Now we're not talking small dental clinics. We're talking larger hospitals and stuff. But that's,
so I can't remember if you said, are you actually storing this data?
Yes.
So you're going to have to start paying. They're going to have to pay by volume, right?
Not really. So it's all database, right? I'm not doing any files, at least not right now. I'm thinking of ways that we can do this ultimately on the file things, but right now it's all just database storage. It's all just text and encrypted data in a database.
Hey guys, thanks for your time. I gotta run. Okay.
You bet. See you. Thanks, Travis.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, see you soon.
Yeah.
So the actual storage isn't a lot. I would say the bandwidth is probably more of a concern than the storage is. But even that's not super bad. I mean, if we're getting that much bandwidth, we're making way enough revenue to scale that up. And we use Amazon AWS for that anyway, which we can auto scale, auto clone. As traffic spikes, resource usage goes up, it'll just automatically scale that and replicate itself. Round robin, load balancing, all that good jazz. So I'm not too concerned about that. Now, if we get into the file piece of this, then yeah, that becomes a bigger issue. But that comes with other issues too. That's why I haven't really gone into that either, because it worries me that I have to allow somebody to upload an image to my server that has to be super protected, and then they have to have access to download that image back again. That to me, on a normal website, I wouldn't care, right? But in something like that, if somebody is able to inject a piece of bad code into an image and get that uploaded to our server and it somehow replicates, and we have a full data breach, we are not only out of business tomorrow. Personally, I'm probably ruined too, because I'm going to get the legal fines and stuff. So, but I'm thinking of ways that we can maybe do that down the road. Just scares the hell out of me though.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I think we lost Joe for a minute there. There he's back.
I'm back. Yeah.
I need to take off, guys. I got to go work on that stupid website some more.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, good luck.
Good, man.
You too. See you guys.
See you next week.
Bye.
So, what do you think, Nakia? You learning anything yet?
Yeah, it's been really helpful. Sorry I haven't been talking very much. I'm just kind of absorbing.
That's all right.
Yeah,
If I
no.
have a DBA, sorry, I just want to figure this out. If I have a DBA in my state, like, can I just turn that into an LLC?
Probably. I mean, a DBA is just doing business as. It's basically saying, hey, I'm going to
Right.
do
So I got
business
the name,
as
right?
this.
Like no one can make an LLC of my DBA.
Well,
Like, that's the
your
point.
LLC name goes by state. I mean, that's, you know, we're Code Monkeys
So does
LLC, but we're not the only Code Monkeys company in the country. We're just the only one in Wisconsin.
right.
So once you register that LLC, then yes, nobody else can register that name in your state.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. I'll be right back.
Do you have to transfer? So I guess I have probably like the same thing as like a assumed business name. Do I have to transfer that if I did it in Montana, but now I'm in Florida? Or is it because it's good for like a couple years or something?
So you were just also doing just kind of a DBA deal?
Yeah, it's like assumed business name is what they called it in the paperwork
Yeah,
I filled
yeah.
out in the state of Montana.
Honestly, I don't think anybody's going to care about that. I would
Okay.
just set up a brand new company, a brand new LLC. You can run it as a sole proprietor for now if you're the only person, and you can do your taxes like a single person.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I used to be in insurance. I used to run an insurance agency years ago, and I was the only person, as an owner of the company. So when I filed my taxes, it was just, even though I was filing taxes for the company, technically, it was all
Mm-hmm.
under my own name.
Right.
Now, back then, at least, you got better tax breaks by doing that. I was talking to a guy yesterday that said that's not necessarily the case anymore. Because what happens once you become an LLC partnership or an S corp or something, you start to run into double taxation issues, which is just stupid and dumb, but is what it is. But if you
Okay.
don't have an LLC, I would definitely do that because you don't want people coming back to you personally rather than going to the
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some
company.
confusion on all that too. Because I know that a C corp is its own entity. An S corp still passes income through me.
No,
Like,
well, the S corp turns around and pays you. S
I thought that
corp
was a C
is
corp.
that's how you get the double taxation, right? Because you're gonna get taxed when that money hits your company, and then you're gonna get taxed again when that turns around and pays you. Hey Dan,
Right.
as far as I know, you don't have to have a DBA for an LLC. You have the option to do a DBA for it, but I don't know why you would need to.
So
Yeah,
okay.
who do we use for bookkeeping, accounting? My partner Dan and
Yeah.
myself. And that's got to stop because we're not good at it. Yeah, he just said we suck at it.
Yeah.
I
I'm
still
doing
haven't
all the stuff.
I still haven't filed our taxes for last year. We filed an extension, and I can't get our balance sheets to balance. They balance in QuickBooks, but they don't balance when we import it to the tax stuff. So, like right now, I've got to go get that taken care of because that's going to become a problem. We don't owe anything, I don't think, but
Yeah.
it's got to get done. Yeah, there's a lot, and this. So I'm going to hit on that a second too, because that's another thing that we've been trying to stop here is not getting paid for this kind of stuff, right? This administration nonsense, screwing with the books, shoveling snow on the sidewalk, cleaning the freaking toilet, and doing SOWs and paperwork and nonsense. If you sit and figure up how many hours in the day you spend on that kind of crap, probably half of your day you're not invoicing for. And in our business, our hours are our commodity.
Yep.
And so we got to start recouping some of these hours that haven't been getting paid for, project management hours and SOWs.
There's an interesting at the agency I worked for last, they had an interesting solution to that. They would quite literally, you sign any contract with us, there is the agency fee. That's what they called it. I'm not even kidding. And it was just a set flat rate that went into, this keeps our doors open. It was interesting. Now it was stated a little bit different like that, but it was like basically our exclusivity, setting out our time for you, and
Well, you've got two options on this. You either pad it into your billable hours somehow, you raise your rate and try to compensate it from that, or you do something like that, right?
Right.
So when I first started this company, I thought, holy cow, $100 an hour is a lot of money, which is what a lot of these, agencies charge, $100 and up. And once we got into it and, we look at how much this stuff costs and how many actual billable hours we're getting, you have to have $100 an hour to make this stuff fly.
Yep.
Dude, I mean, we just looked at our overhead, and we live in nowhere, Wisconsin, right? Where stuff's fairly cheap compared to if we're in the city. We're still $3,500 to $4,000 a month for overhead. That's just for rent and utility and all these stupid tools we got to have, Browser Stack, Atlassian stuff, HipChat, $5 to GitHub or whatever, and $10 to some other thing, and it kills you. And what? So
tools.
What are you charging? How do you charge right now? By hour? By project?
Yeah, I kind of do both. So I have packages, like website packages. So it's like if your website falls between 1 to 5 pages, it's this price, and so it's all kind of based on $95 per hour. So I kind of look at how much time how much time I think I'll spend on a website of that size, and that just includes, like, if they give me all of the content, I'm just designing it and making it look nice. But if they need like stock photography, then I have a package for, how much time it would take me to find stock photos and optimize those. And, so I have like add-on packages for I also write. So I'm like, I can do some copywriting for you, but that's additional. So it's kind of based on that. I do have a client who just has like hourly work. So I just charge her $95 an hour when she says, oh, I want this done. And then I just invoice her per project, and that seems to be working okay. I'm lowering my prices a little bit, just as like I'm launching like a hard launch, just because I'm trying to get some money in, because
Well, only do it if it makes sense to bring in that much extra business. But you also run the risk, I think, of there is something to be said for people will value you at what you value yourself, right?
Yeah. Yep.
If you go out there like these Indians do, I build you good site, $300. People are going to look at this and go, "This sucks. What are you going to get for $300, right?"
Right.
So you can go too low.
Yeah.
I think. But
I'm definitely not going that low. I did have a question though. So I was thinking about the whole Squarespace idea, because I really do want to provide solutions for people if they don't have the budget to hire somebody to maintain their website, like to help them, find a way to do it themselves that's relatively cheap. But I've never worked in Squarespace. So I was thinking about don't start. Is it not worth it? Like, it's not
Here's the thing: is where I was going with that was that you just said yourself you believe your time is worth $95 an hour.
Right.
Okay, and there's still going to be this level, no matter what kind of development you use, there's still going to be this level of building a website that's always going to take time. It's going to be the content development, the kind of marketing strategy behind it, and branding, whatever, right? All these things have to be set in place. And when you have these small shops like that, they approach you and they're just like, we need a website. And they don't really think all that through a lot of the time. They just think, we need a website. Can we give you $500 and like we'll see a website up in like a week?
Honestly, you would still be better off to just find a pre-built theme for $50 and slap it on a WordPress build on GoDaddy.
Right.
What you're going to find in Squarespace is you're going to be really constrained. Now, me as a developer, I'm too constrained right out of the gate on that thing, and they use their own liquid web.
Yeah, it makes me
engine.
It makes me out of my mind.
You're super constrained, right?
Okay.
And by the time you get in there and dick around with it, to do anything, any kind of customization, you're gonna wish you would have just slapped.
And especially if you have any level of passion, like don't try and do that stuff, because as much as it makes sense economically, if you are a passionate person about what you do, you're going to sit there and you're going to try and make it what you want it to be, because that's just what you do. Like I do the same thing, you know, and I don't realize sometimes that I'm just wasting money doing that because it's not worth it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I would stay clear away from that. I've had to do a couple things. Same with Shopify. We had a partner agency for a while that was going towards, for whatever reason, wanting to use Shopify for everything. And I tried to do a couple, but they still wanted heavy customization, right? Like interactive freaking maps that stored data and stuff. There's no database. So I had to store all the data in a
Shopify
JSON
doesn't have
file.
a database?
No, no.
It
No,
doesn't
there
use.
is no database, no like MySQL or anything that you can go hook into. I'm
Where
sure
does it
they have
store
a
data?
database. It's just you don't have access to it. So to do the things that I needed to do, I had to use like JSON files and use those JSON files as a quasi-relational database. And I just finally said, nah, we're not the guys for you. Go find somebody else, because that's I feel dirty
Yeah.
after working with that stuff. So
But yeah, you feel like you're breaking something. You know,
yeah, it's just.
I relate.
It has its place. It has its market. It's just not for people that need customization. It's really not. If you want something with any sort of customization, stay the hell away from them.
Yeah, I mean, I use WooCommerce and I love it. You know,
Yeah,
I can do
we
anything
use WooCommerce all the time.
I can do anything I want with it. It's awesome. And I can, if something doesn't exist, I just code it into it. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem with extending functionality sometimes is some of their talks are a little ambiguous.
Oh
You
god.
kind of just play with stuff, but
Yeah, and they don't have like any docs on any of their hooks or filters or like
well,
very.
they do. They show you what they are, but they don't. There's not a lot of good real world examples in their docs on how you would actually implement some of these things. And what's irritating me right now, based on the customization I had to do on our HIPAA e-commerce checkout system, because what has to happen is, one, on successful payment, on the first payment, when you first check out, I need to generate that license key and then shoot you an email with that license key, right? And then set up their database in the API. The way I'm getting the data out of this is particular to the subscriptions plugin that they have. The way I'm getting the data out of the subscriptions array, when I look at my logs, it keeps telling me it's freaking deprecated, but I have yet to find any other way to do it. So if it's deprecated, where in the hell is the new way to do it? I mean, it works, it does the job. I just got to ignore the log, but surely there's got to be a new way to do it. If it's deprecated, where in the hell is it at? Anyway,
Right.
I better run too, guys. I got some stuff I got to get done today still. But yeah, we had a pretty good one today. A few more people. Yeah. Joe went on a warpath recruiting, so
I did. You know, I even stopped like responding to, because I just kept getting them, man. I'm still getting them. I'm still getting messages like, "Hey, I'm interested." And maybe I should let them in, because even though about 30 people joined the group to do it, like 3 of them showed up, so 4 maybe.
Yeah, you know, it'll grow. It'll grow. It's still new. And I haven't really promoted it much. I've been so consumed with other stuff lately that I haven't really put the time into it either. I'm kind of glad you did this, this last week or two. So
yeah, I was stuck somewhere and all I had was my phone.
Well, so the other thing I did here this year too, though, was I stepped away from some of the day-to-day white label development stuff, because I'm done. They don't want me talking to a couple of these companies right now, because we will lose them if I have to answer the phone and deal with a couple of them. I'll just flat tell them to fuck off. So the other guys are kind of taking more hands-on on that, so I can focus more on marketing, growing the company, and doing some of these HIPAA plugins and shit like that. So I should have a little bit more time not consumed by nonsense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in. I think I'm gonna. That's really the next step for me as far as marketing is. You know, I'm gonna just try and push this medical stuff, start putting out content related to it, and like see if I can like at least locally see what I can do for ranking for medical web design. I'm pretty sure I can take it. You know, only real competition is ACS, and Really ACS. I think that's really it. I think as far as like someone who has like is not just up there for no reason, you know what I mean? Because there's no other options. So let's see what I can do with that. Take their spot. They're just down the street from me. They're gonna be pissed.
Well, get a couple under your belt, man, and then you can start to talk some crap with them too. If you can really show, hey, get a couple loyal fans, I guess.
They've done a lot of them, man. My competition down the street with that. They've done. They got some sizable clients around here. I had surgery last year, and they actually have my specialist up there too. So I don't know. I'm gonna see what I can do. I think I'll be all right though. I mean, I think I can rank higher than them. No
Well,
problem.
especially if you really niche your niche down, because I was looking yesterday at, I've been joining some of the medical related stuff for this plugin, and chiropractors always have way too much money for what they do. There's always a budget there. Now there's a level of arrogance there, but if you listen, these guys are in this business to make money, and so if you can make a convincing case to these guys that I can improve your bottom line with this, then you're in.
Well, check this
They're
out.
going to do it.
Let me send you a link. I just put this on my staging server. I just put this bare bones content landing page together. Really, while we were sitting here, take a look at that. Let me know what you think. Just real quick. Let me know if that link works for you too. It should, but
Yeah, it works.
now obviously I got to make that look a little bit nicer as far as the content flow. But it's it's the marketing path that I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I don't know. So my only beef with it is I think the responsive design thing is getting pretty played out. In 2018, everybody just expects shit to be responsive. I don't know that I'd push too much on that, especially that high up. I mean, you want to mention it, but I'd put that down at the bottom somewhere as an afterthought. I'd focus way more on your strategy. How right away, I want to see how this is going to help my bottom line, right? Somewhere in big bold letters, like where your healthcare and hospital web design slogan or title or whatever that is. I want that to say, I'm going to make more money if I look at this. And since it's more of a landing page sort of thing, really funnel them down. Start with 1-2 line sentences, funnel it down to your beefier paragraph content, because you got to hook them to get them to read the paragraph, right? But I do like the call to action on the right here, your free website analysis. I would maybe even think, instead of just a free website analysis, most people don't really care about that. What they really care about is a free strategy. How are we going to actually leverage this stuff? I have a website now. Everybody has a website now. How can I actually use this thing so it does something? Because right now, chances are it's not doing dick. How can I make this thing happen? That's you got to look for the emotional keys, right? You got to look for the triggers on these people. What do I really care about? Well, I really care about money. That's where you got to hit them.
Yeah, strategy session. Okay, that's what that headline's changing to up there.
And honestly, that's what we do with the insurance niche stuff that we do. It's all, if you look at our insurance page, landing page, whatever you call it, and I haven't really been promoting that for a while because I've been occupied, but it's all about strategy. It's all about, you got a website now, but everybody knows it's not doing nothing. How many people are going to it? Let's come up with a strategy and leverage what you're doing and make this a cornerstone to it so that we can take all that other stuff and make it better. This is what leads to more money in your pocket at the end of the day. If I'm a chiropractor, it's the same concern. My bottom line. Maybe when you get in the medical field now, another thing you could pitch though is you could also save them some time and frustration and money too, because especially like one thing that we've been kind of trying to hit a little bit on this HIPAA plugin is it's solving a pain point for these guys. Right now they come in and they sit for 30 minutes doing these freaking forms, and so it extends the time that these people are in their office, and the handwriting is horrible. They can't read it. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to save you time, which is money and frustration, by letting these people do this beforehand before they come for the visit, and it's all typed. You don't have to worry about sloppy handwriting, right? So as soon as they come in there and they go to the front desk, they go, "What's your name?" Type it in. "Oh, here's your form." Perfect. Doctor, see you in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Go have a seat, and bam, they're gone. And it's just like a restaurant. You want those seats to turn every so many, every hour or whatever they say that is. You got to turn this stuff. It's a business. Everything's a business. So the keys for every single business out there, I don't care what you do, unless you're just some non-profit charity for hobos, your key focus is, how do I make more money? How do I save some of the money I'm spending now, right? How do I get less stress? That's the third factor. More money, save money, less stress. Hit those 3 freaking triggers, and you're talking right to their freaking soul.
Right.
Anyway.
Absolutely. So, save time, make money, boost reputation, HIPAA compliance. Now, the reason why I want HIPAA compliance to just be HIPAA compliance on there is because,
well, it's because they don't have it now.
Typically, I'm looking for that.
Well, listen, I know. I've just based off all the people I've been talking to in the last couple of weeks on this thing as we've been getting ready to release this. It's a pain point for every single one of these clinics and stuff. Every single one of them wants this. I have never once ran into anybody that went, "Yeah, I don't think we'd ever be interested in something like that." And every single one of them, "Oh, dude, we've been looking for something like this for years." Especially the designers that work on these sites. They're like, I've literally had at least 6 or 7 people in the last week literally say, "I've been turning down projects that need this because this solution didn't exist." So, now my frustration is we're getting all these downloads, but there's no freaking money hitting the damn bank yet. Because there's a lag. You gotta look at it realistically. Most of these people are web designers that are building these sites for these people, and they go and they start a build and they go, "Oh, I wonder if there's any sort of," they said they want HIPAA. So they go in the repo and they search HIPAA, and we come up because we're the only dumbasses doing it. And they go, "Oh, awesome," and install. But they have to buy a license key and activate it, but they still have to build the website, right? That's the last, if we were going to do it, that would be the last thing we would do. We would find the solution and then just sit it in the back burner. And that would be the last thing we do when we hit freaking publish, because why pay for a license key, a subscription key, until we're ready to do it? So I'm guessing there's going to be... What's that?
Especially a monthly one.
Yeah, well, and they can do it
annually. Because I have to make it work, make sure it works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm hoping that we start to see some of these subscriptions roll in. I mean, like I said, there's 50 of them. We released this right at a week ago in the repo. And dude, it was crazy. You want to talk SEO juice? I think I just found a little magic bullet, because as soon as we got listed in the repo, the next day, dude, we came up. If you go in Google right now and search WordPress HIPAA forms, you'll find us in like the top 5 results. First, you'll see the repo plugin thing, right, on WordPress. And then you'll see our actual website, not too far below that.
It's all WordPress stuff. Until I'm not getting it, dude.
It'll say, well, so what you're going to be looking for.
Did you look at it in incognito?
Yeah. So what I see in Google, number 3 is the WordPress repository version of it, right? HIPAA forms, add HIPAA compliant web forms to your WordPress site.
Okay, I got you as number 19.
And now the site doesn't show.
Might have something to do with it.
Well, that doesn't surprise me so much, because honestly, we just launched this domain a week ago. So just the fact it showed for a minute, I guess, surprises me.
Yeah, I just found you and I searched that same term, but it wasn't until result number 19.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's
I
going to
got it on
bounce.
number 3.
The actual website or just the WordPress repository?
The WordPress one.
Yeah. Well, either way, I don't honestly. Either way, I don't care because if they go to WordPress repository, it's the same damn thing. So they're gonna get it either way. I don't care. But for a brand new domain that I just bought off the rack, a couple weeks ago and just launched a week ago, just the fact that we're even number 19, I can dig it.
Oh yeah, that's not bad at all, man.
Yeah, so there's a little SEO trick. Go freaking release a plugin and link to it.
Yeah. So you link to yourself through.
Oh, sure.
repo.
Yeah. Sure, because that's where our facts and instructions and stuff are.
That's a nice link right there.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, I got to roll. Dan, we'll see you later. Whoever's left here, I guess. Brian. Nikki, I'm glad you joined. Hope we see you next Friday.
I'll be here.
I'm out of here. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Later.
See you later.
Yep.